All right, y'all, welcome back. So, I got a question from one of our KCC ID Instructor Development Group about two different grips that we've seen in our trainings. On the back, being here, like sucked into the elbow, holding it nice and tight. And then essentially we refer to as like the elbow tuck or the newspaper tuck on the outside of the arm here. So we're gonna take a look at both of these grips, why we set them up in different places, pros and cons, all that type of fun stuff. Now, this elbow tuck grip, generally speaking, if I'm gonna get this, it's gonna be established in the outside 2-on-1, or at least while jockeying over the outside 2-on-1 position, even in a grappling perspective. So the way that this works, if I'm here and I wanna make this pass, usually the way we'll explain this from the outside 2-on-1 is I'm gonna come down and support just above, or below rather, the elbow, so that I can then pass this hand over. So I'm like driving this wrist up, passing this hand over, I'm hooking onto the back of the arm, just like I'd be grabbing for an arm drag, and then I'm gonna suck this in nice and tight, all right? This allows me to put a ton of pressure with like my chest across that elbow and that shoulder, and then if I do jockey for the back position here, I can hold on to that back and I get a little bit of extra pressure into this spot, okay? I can also start hitting this from an arm drag right out of the gate, or in the KCC program, what we refer to as like our X grip. So if I'm fighting over the front position, I've got my head position, I'm pushing the wrist over to the side this way, and I have my elbow dropped across the forearm. Now as I go to switch my shoulders, right, I have this cross grip, I'm already set up for it, and I really just need to tuck the arm underneath, suck it nice and tight into my elbows. Again, I can kind of reach across the hip to block his hip from moving here, or I can come across the outside and go into here, okay? Now, it's a great grip, it's a fantastic place to be, puts a ton of pressure on their elbow and their shoulder, but it takes more involvement to get into it. So that's the biggest con as far as the position goes, is I have to do all of these things, right, that to get into this spot to make sure I can actually secure it. And remember, like right now, Sam's being a good like dumb zombie bad guy and letting me do all the things. But if we're in this outside 2-on-1 and he's pushing with the other hand and framing and basing, and now I'm trying to like get in this spot, well, me taking my hand below his elbow allows him to pull his elbow back. Maybe I lose position there if I'm gonna reach. So it's just, it takes more to get that, especially against, you know, somebody who's actually fighting back, a committed attacker. That's usually, again, where in this case, if I happen to be able to get this deep grip into the arm out of the gate, this is usually the best chance I'm gonna have, and it's starting from the front side 2-on-1 instead of the outside 2-on-1, where I'm controlling the wrist and the elbow from here. Again, even if he's like pushing on my head, moving forward and backward, I can start to pull this in, tuck it in a little bit tighter, and be able to make that shot to be able to secure the position, okay? So again, it's a very good grip, but if somebody's resisting and really pulling, it's just a little harder to get into than just simply tracking the outside of the arm. Now again, resisting and committed attackers suck, so that's why you have to get good at wrestling to figure this stuff out anyway, right? Now, if we go to the back and we get into this position, the pressure on the elbow, you can already start seeing it. The pressure on the elbow makes Sam want to rotate his elbow, right? Well, once he goes to rotate the elbow, I'm not gonna have that pressure anymore anyway. So even if I did secure this grip, right, if I keep the elbow bent, thumbs up, but the second he starts dumping his elbow and his ribs over, I'm gonna lose that grip as it goes. So if I get this, like in short, it's a very, very good grip and position. If I get this, right, I kind of want to attempt to blow the elbow out if I can, like boom, rip on it with all that I've got. And I just have to assume, or at least have some idea of a plan B, if during the struggle and all this type of shit, I start to lose that grip. He starts to turn the angle of the knife and the blade, and now I have to get to a position where I jockey my elbow back to the outside, right? So that then takes us to this idea of understanding this grip. Right, if I'm on his back, I have my hand kind of karate chopped, or as our friend Eli would say, like white fang kung fu or some shit like that. You kung fu, right? Yeah, boom. So like right into here. I don't know this. Crane. There you go. Boom. Yeah. Cobra, something. He actually knows kung fu. I don't. Right, so I'm just being completely ignorant right now. Right, but I chop this into here, and most importantly, I'm taking my elbow and I'm pinning it to his hip. Here, his hip, not my hip. If I pin it to my hip, I have some movement and some control on the backside of the elbow, but he has all this space to be able to work with, and so he can start jockeying in this position back and forth. But if I'm here, it keeps him blocked a little more towards the front. So I'm hooked into the bicep. I'm taking my elbow towards his hip. I'm splitting his stance. I'm on the backside here, right? Now as he goes to move, I have frames. I'm not saying he can't get out of this, but I have frames to track the outside of the elbow and to be able to frame and understand kind of how that's working and be able to make adjustments from there. So we start now. We used to talk a lot about this X grip and about this kind of arm tuck or newspaper grip, and it's still a very good piece. But plan B and the real foundation of it is right into here. So you'll notice we start introducing this grip a lot more, because if this one fails us, this is how I mitigate his ability to kind of get out of that spot and be able to make the adjustments, right? And that's just tracking behind the arm, scooping inside nice and tight. Even in this position, like if he does start to turn back towards me, now I can kind of keep my elbows low, squeezed and framed, and I can start working my way back down into this grip, or maybe scooping and getting back into this grip, okay? But this tucked position of the elbow behind it kind of gives me my little guardrail to be able to feel any type of changes in energy and pushes, again, against a committed attacker. So, is this grip good? Certainly. Are there issues with this grip? Absolutely. Right? If I start to lose this grip, do I need a plan B? Abso-freaking-lutely. In fact, this is most likely plan A, and this is like A with the cherry on top, right, as far as that goes. The other thing that I think many people are probably figuring out right now is blade size and orientation is also going to matter with this arm tuck grip, right? If he turns the blade into a reverse grip, well now, again, as he starts jockeying position to get outside of that, I may not want to risk that grip in that spot. Even if the blade's turned up, so he has a forward grip on it, even into here, if he is able, if I lose head position, which is our primary objective in the outside 2-on-1 anyway, if he's able to jockey back in, and start to pull that blade, I've essentially put like brachial artery and all this other type stuff right in alignment. So again, you'll hear us say this a lot. It's not a matter of like our positions, yeses or nos. It's understand the pros and cons, understand the assets and liabilities of each position. This is a really, really good grip, especially against somebody that I'm dominating position, head control. I can use this to really just blow the elbow out. I can use this to drag him to the floor. Ooh, we got a little pop out of him, right, as far as that goes. But again, if I start losing this grip, he starts to change the positions of it. I have to have, a plan for what happens there. How do I mitigate that? And that's this like scoop position here. I start coming around the hip, be able to grab to the outside there, okay? So if you've done the KCC program, you've seen all these little elements before. If you haven't done the KCC program and you're like, I kind of get what you're talking about, but kind of what the fuck are you talking about? Go get the KCC program or join us in person in training at some form or fashion as far as that goes. Cool? Awesome. Love you guys. See you next time.